Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today we are talking about the latest studio album from Lord Dying entitled Clandestine Transcendence. This is the fourth full-length studio album from this American heavy metal and sludge metal crew. I remember really enjoying their debut Summon the Faithless and their sophomore studio album Poisoned Altars when they released back in 2013 and 2015 respectively. They were big and mean and filled with nasty, gnarly, swampy, burly riffs and beats and passages and such. Think like very early Mastodon meets a more brutish High on Fire meets the underrated underground death sludge of Encrust, and you're kind of in the right ballpark. With 2019's Mysterium Tremendum, however, Lord Dying began switching things up big time. It was a more progressive and experimental record. It was a more high-concept record. There was more ambitious and challenging and immersive songcraft and lyricism and songwriting overall. New influences pulled from progressive metal, from psychedelic music. These changes may have been a bit shocking and surprising to some, but in my opinion, totally necessary and not unwarranted or unwelcome. Frankly, I was ecstatic to see Lord Dying try something new and be so successful with it, and as a result, I've been really curious about this new album, Clandestine Transcendence, which I can now confirm very wisely builds on the momentum and the success of the aforementioned Mysterium Tremendum, and takes Lord Dying's sound and image and style to a whole new level. It's bigger, it's bolder, it's more creative, it's more immersive, it's more challenging, it's more diverse, it's more dynamic. I don't think it's unfair at all to say that this is the band's most ambitious record to date. It also appears to be a more exploratory and spiritual experience for Lord Dying as we follow this character called the Dreamer through a variety of cosmic introspective adventures. A written statement from Eric Olson on Bandcamp also reads, "Ultimately, the album is about self-discovery and becoming what you want to become in the face of adversity, no matter how the cards are stacked against you. I'm not really a spiritual person, but a lyric on the album talks about the transformation of energy, how matter cannot be created or destroyed. It's from a scientific standpoint, but maybe the science is spiritual." Musically speaking, this thing feels like a big sludge, progressive, psychedelic, alternative metal smorgasbord. So many different sounds and influences and spices and flavors. Opening number, The Universe is Weeping, for instance, has some very ambient, minimalistic, rustic guitar work transitioning into some, groove-laden progressive sludge metal. You have these very dry, raspy, guttural vocals and some more ominous vocal harmonies as well, creating some really nice contrast. Love the way this thing closes out with this very, haunting kind of, vocal chanting. Then you have something like I Am Nothing, I Am Everything, which is every bit as loud and declarative and impactful as it is genuinely kind of miserable. You have this very continuous plodding percussion and all of these wailing guitars and static and feedback and noise, complemented nicely by some mid-pace, burly, chunky guitar work and some more sinister, vocal theatrics. This song sounds like somebody just descending into madness and emotional outbursts and, brewing some kind of horrible fucking plot or scheme to get their shit back together. It sounds like they're just totally on the verge of, either giving up on life or exacting, the most brutal vengeance imaginable. Then there's Facing the Incomprehensible, which really embraces full-on death metal influences with these more venomous vocal spats and massive towering walls of behemoth or immolation-style riffage. Then there's the double whammy of A Brief Return to Physical Form and A Bond Broken by Death, which together dish out some of the most majestic, cinematic, multifaceted, Opeth-style progressive metal that I've heard since the days of Deliverance and Damnation and Ghost Reveries and Watershed. If you've got a real fucking soft spot for 2000s era Opeth, I promise you these are going to be your favorite tracks on the album. The way that these moody acoustic arrangements are woven in with classic progressive rock influences and prog metal heft and these very cathartic hooks and melodies, it very much is on par with something Michael Ackerfeld would have done back in the day. I'm genuinely tempted to say that those are my favorite cuts on the record, but ultimately that award is going to go to Dancing on the Emptiness, which is filled with jittery, janky, erratic guitar chords and these more ominous, monotonous, spoken word-esque vocal passages, these more repetitive rhythms and chugs, and these occasional bursts of full-on prog metal wankery. It's just such a fascinating and intriguing cut. It sounds like modern-day Iggy Pop going back in time to write something with early 90s Voivod. I really love Swimming in the Absence, too, and how it kind of meditates on this very dreary, melancholic, kind of like doomy sludge as well. Now, I will say that the whole album does feel a little bit bloated. This thing clocks in at 58 minutes with 12 songs when it could maybe make do with 50 minutes and 10 songs. Something to consider as well is that a lot of these songs, even some of my favorites, do tend to spend quite a bit of time kind of simmering and lingering on specific sections to build as much tension and atmosphere as possible. And while that's consistently a successful tactic across the record, I think that is part of what's adding to this feeling more bloated than it is. Aside from that, though, I don't really have any major concerns or criticisms, so I'm going to go with a 4 to 5, leaning pretty heavily towards a 4.5 out of 5. To be honest, it's right there balancing on the edge. Like a simple gust of wind, if it really wanted to, could probably blow it over and push it into the 4.5 out of 5 territory. Easy fucking peasy. I'll see how I feel as time goes on, but right now, a very enthusiastic 4 to 5 just feels appropriate to me. It's rich and soulful and hearty and complex and important and meaningful. It's Lord Dying's biggest and most ambitious album to date. I think if you're looking for something a little bit more unique and adventurous and immersive from your progressive sludge metal, you have found it. Congratulations. Very excited to see how Lord Dying continue this story that they've kind of established with this and Mysterium Tremendum going forward. Very excited to see if they kind of really dig into the weirder, funkier aspects of this album, you know? Like, I'd love to see them take some of those Opeth and Voivod influences and just go fucking crazy, you know? Let that freak flag fly. Do some crazy, like, progressive, avant-garde metal art rock kind of shit, you know? We'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. Obviously, though, for the time being, this is more than enough for me. Once again, very enthusiastic 4 to 5. Honestly, that may change as I listen to this more and more in the near future. Definitely check this out. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be. So what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.